For Ashley Monroe, music has always been a part of her life. At the age of 11, she won a talent contest. Then her dad bought her first guitar. But then, when she was only 13, her dad died of cancer. Her mom was suddenly a widow at the age of 38. She decided to move with Ashley to Nashville, Tennessee, to pursue a singing career for her talented daughter. Ashley started to write songs and sing. Country music legend Vince Gill heard her sing, and I'll let her tell the rest. She's put out an album called Like a Rose. Country music singer and songwriter Ashley Monroe joins me in the studio. Ashley, welcome.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
So I want to start with the hard stuff. Your father's death. Obviously, it was a very hard time for you and your mother.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember from that time?
You know, it was so crazy how fast it happened. And even now, I mean, I just turned 27 yesterday. So, and I'm still technically grieving. I really am. I still cry my eyes out all the time. So, you know, I was from, my family was so solid and they loved each other so much. And most of my family grew up on the same road. My dad's brothers and his sister and my mom all lived on the hill. And my mom and dad were madly in love. And I remember the summer of 99, he was 40. He started holding his back a lot. And he worked out and he was very healthy and ate right and did everything technically right to be healthy. Didn't drink, didn't smoke. But then he started losing weight and kind of turned into jaundice. And I remember this feeling kind of in the pit of my stomach, like something, I knew something was wrong. I knew things were about to change. I don't even know how I knew, but I did. And then he got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer November of 99. And then he passed away February 25th, 2000. So it was so fast how, I mean, it went from this, an amazing childhood. I really am blessed to have had that. And I was able to see real love between my parents. But it went away so fast that, and things went so drastically different, you know, like my mom completely had a nervous breakdown and left. So it was just my brother and myself. My brother was 18, I was 13, living in the house that my dad, you know, our family home. I mean, it just went.
What do you mean your mother left?
She just, she had a breakdown, really. And the first man that came along that said, "You're pretty," you know, she panicked. She had been with my dad since she was 18. And so she left. And so it was just me and my brother at that house. So I had lost, you know, my mom, my dad, and my mom in a sense for a while. And all I knew to do was to hold on to the guitar, like just in songs. That's when I started writing because songs would just start coming out. Because that was the only way I could feel anything better. Even if the songs were so miserably sad, I knew that if I could just get it out, it would feel better, you know? And so I don't even know. And it gets all blurry. I don't know. I had like 2 head-on collisions in that time too. So it's like, I don't even know how I have a memory still. But I remember telling Mom, I went and found a therapist. And I was like, "Mom, I think you need to see a therapist. Like, I don't think you're thinking clear." And I was 14 at that time. And she came back, you know, and got away from this crazy situation she was in. And that's when I said, we've got to get out of here. You know, we've got to move to Nashville. We've got to make a clean start. You know, this town isn't what it was to us before. You know, it's not, it's crazy how one person makes such a big difference. But my dad really did. And
so that was your idea to move to Nashville?
Yeah.
And she was okay with that?
Oh, absolutely. We had nothing to stay for necessarily at that time. I mean, my brother still lived there, and, you know, we're all still extremely close, but he was 18, and, you know, he had his own, well, he was 19 at the time, and he had his own life and own job, and he wanted to stay there. And it's only 3 hours west, so it didn't feel, you know, like it was.
It's not a big move.
It's not a huge move, you know.
So what did you do when you got there to Nashville?
I'm trying to think. I don't even know. We got an apartment. I met this lady named Ree Geyer, who's a publisher in Nashville, who's been publishing me for years. And she started introducing me to other songwriters. And that's when I started. And I remember it kind of started happening quickly. I would go down on the bar, like to Tootsie's and Second Fiddle and stuff on Broadway during the day and ask bands if I could get up and like sit in because I was wanting to get discovered. I had no idea what I was doing, nor did Mama. Like
or how you're supposed
or
to get
how.
discovered.
No idea. I just knew that's what I was going to do, so I had to figure it out. And looking back now, it's pretty obvious. I really do think my dad was kind of like, no, nope, just kind of guiding us because we met the right people, and the right people found us fairly quickly after moving.
So how did it all happen? I mean, you had been singing at different places, you've been writing music, but what was it that was the clincher?
So I met a guy named Brett James, who was an incredible songwriter, and he really took me under his wing and said, you really are special, and let's nurture this. And he took me to Sony when I was 17, and a guy named John Grady, who is now my manager, was head of Sony at the time, and he signed me when I was 17 to Sony Records. So that's when I made my first record, and it was like official then.
But it didn't actually go out.
But then it didn't come out, so it wasn't official.
So Ashley, there's a lot of young people that can sing. They're in Nashville. They're all like, I'm going to be a country music star. Why do you think you succeeded when so many others don't?
I don't know the answer to that, actually. I know that I never could have ever seen myself doing anything different, and I never had a backup plan. And I always knew what my purpose was. I always have, even before my dad passed. When I was a little bitty girl, I sang nonstop, and there wasn't even another option. And it was so funny. One of my granny's friends, because I always loved to entertain people, and even when I was little, I wanted everybody to just be happy, and I wanted everybody to feel good. And so I would like dance one minute, and then I would be preaching the next minute, like, "Do you know the Lord loves you?" And one of my granny's friends said, Doris, that's my granny's name. Doris, she scares me. She's either going to be a missionary or a stripper, and I can't tell which one. But I
and you turned out just fine.
I turned out somewhere in the middle, I guess.
Ashley Monroe is a country music singer and songwriter. She's also part of a band called Pistol Annies. The album is called Like a Rose. So what makes you different, Ashley, from every other pretty blonde country music singer?
I have no idea. I think it's what's inside, and I think that I don't know. Everybody's different, but I'm not doing it for the fame. That's for sure. I'm not doing it so I can be in the magazines or anything like that. I want my music to be heard. I feel like I have a message. I feel like I've been given a gift to hear these songs and to be able to craft them and sing them, and I want to help people through music. But
what is your message?
It's that it's okay to be sad. It's the record. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to tell the truth. It's okay to be honest. Because I know in some of my hardest times when I've sat down and listened to music, that's what made it okay. Even if it was a sad song, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that's ever felt this before. And I want people to know that they're not alone and that music is healing. And I've heard a lot of positive feedback, so hopefully it's helping some.
Well, so I want to talk about the title track, Like a Rose, and then I want to hear it. So
Okay.
Set it up for us first. What's it about?
Okay. Like a Rose, it was the first time I wrote with Guy Clark, who is one of the best songwriters in the world. And I went to his house, and he has a guitar workshop, like down in his basement. And it was John Randall and myself who went over to write with him. And I had saved up all of my best, song titles because I wanted him to know I wasn't just another blonde country singer. I was like, I'm a writer by God, and you're going to listen. And so I went in, and he rolls his own cigarettes, and he's rolling cigarettes. And I'm trying so hard to impress him. So I said, well, I've got this idea. And, I played something that I thought was good. And he took a sip of coffee, and he said, I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was like, well, anyways, I have this other idea here, and da-da-da-da. And he said, And he said, why don't you tell me about you? And I was like, oh gosh. And so I was like, well, let's see. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. Daddy died when I was 13. Mama left for a little while, but she came back. And so we moved to Nashville, and I was trying to hit like all of the major points in my life, but then I was trying to wrap it up too. And I said, but look at me. I came out like a rose. And he said, well, why don't we just write that?
And that's how it came about.
That's how it came about.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. I was only 13 when Daddy died. Mama started drinking and my brother just quit trying. I'm still bouncing back. Heaven only knows how I came out like a rose. Ran off with what's his name. When I turned 18, it got me out of North Dakota, but it did not change a thing. I left it in the yard, all covered up with snow, and I came out like a rose. Sitting in this diner with a coffee in my hand, waiting on a bus to some promised land. Well, I got a one-way ticket as far as it goes, and I came out like a rose. So I'm headed south anywhere that ain't so damn cold, where I can warm my heart and shake the chill from my bones. It took a while to get here, yeah, it's been a long, hard road, and I came out like a rose. Sitting in this diner with a coffee in my hand, waiting on a bus to some promised land. Well, I got a one-way ticket as far as it goes, and I came out like a rose. Well, it took a while to get here, yeah, it's been a long, hard road, and I came out like a rose.
Ashley Monroe, country music singer and songwriter, singing the title track of her album, Like a Rose. Beautiful.
Thank you.
You also heard John Shaw on guitar. So, Ashley, you have a song named Weed Instead of Roses.
Yes, I do.
Continuing on the rose theme.
Yeah.
Okay, now the chorus goes like this. Give me weed instead of roses. Bring me whiskey instead of wine. Every puff, every shot, you're looking better all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't read anymore because there might be kids listening.
Well,
You have some explaining to do, miss.
no. Gosh, pop radio is way worse than that. It was so funny. I wrote that when I was 19. I was on my way to a writing appointment with a lady named Sally Barris and a man named John McElroy. And Sally is this dainty, beautiful, like a little flower from Minnesota. And she talks really soft and she sings really soft and her songs are so beautiful. And John McElroy is like, like everything opposite of Sally. He's just grunge. He's like, Argh. He writes with electric guitar, and he's just, every other word out of his mouth is filth. And I'm somewhere in between. So I was driving to the co-writing appointment, and that came in my head. Give me weed instead of roses. And I was getting so tickled. I was just laughing aloud. So I walked in. I was like, guys, I just have to get this off my chest. I don't know where this came from, but I'm cracking myself up. I was like, I want to play it for you. And Sally was like, "Oh my gosh, that's funny." And John McElroy goes, "Let's go there. Let's ride it all the way." And Sally said, "Okay, let's do it." So we wrote it, and
But it seems like this anti-romance song.
to me, it's a love song. It's talking about you're in love with you've been with somebody for a long time, and it's about spicing it up. That's what it feels like to me. It's my version of a love song, really.
But it seems to me that it doesn't fit you because your voice is like really sweet and kind of vulnerable and,
Yeah.
this seems really hard.
Sounds country to me. Sounds like something Loretta would have sang. She was still here. But it was so funny. So we wrote the song, and then so fast forward to the making this record. So I keep making, CDs of songs to give to Vince Gill, who produced this record, to help him. I wanted him to help me find songs or
Decide on what songs.
Decide on my songs. And so he called me and said, "Ashley Monroe, I am not producing this record unless you cut Weed and Said Roses." And I said, "Oh," kind of laughed at him. And he goes, "No,
but
I'm
you weren't
serious."
expecting that?
No way.
Why?
Because I thought, I remember when we wrote this, Gretchen was huge. And I was like, let's get this to Gretchen Wilson because she can sing the fire out of this. She has that voice. And, yeah. And Vince was like, "No, I'm serious." He goes, "This is going to make people laugh. And this is funny. And people need to see that you're funny, too. You're not just sad and weeping all the time." So I said, "Okay, I want you to produce the record." So I'm doing it.
Do you find a difference in how you sing songs that you've written as opposed to songs that other people have written for you?
I really do. Like this whole record, I wrote or I co-wrote all of them. And I feel like that I connect best to songs that I write or I wish I'd written. There are some songs like Long Time is one I've been singing a lot lately, Linda Ronstadt. That song, I wish I'd written that so I can sing that like I did. And there's some examples of that. Hickory Wind, another great example of one. When I sing it, I feel like I could have written it or wished I had have. But especially now, because the more I sing, if I write it, I can definitely relate to it more.
Tell me about the Pistol Annies.
Pistol Annies. Well, Miranda and I have known each other since 2005.
This is Miranda Lambert.
Miranda Lambert, yes. And we were both on Sony. We both were signed around the same time. And she kind of thought I was just another blonde singer. And we both were kind of chasing the same boy for a second.
Even though she's also a blonde singer.
I know, right? But so she sent me a text, though, when she got my first record, Satisfied. She got a copy of it and sent me this long text. And was like, "I've never been more moved. I've got to meet you, blah, blah, blah." So I went to meet her in Texas and stayed with her for like a whole weekend. And we've not ever left each other's side, really. It was just, it's a sisterhood. It is so deep. But so we had written for a while, just the two of us. And so about 3 years ago, I was in Oklahoma with her, and we hooked up her Airstream, and me and her two dogs went camping. And we wrote all these songs. We wrote Bad Example. We wrote Boys from the South, Beige, which were all on Pistol's first record. But we wrote them, and we knew they were really special. But I said, "I don't think they're for me. Do you think they're for you?" And she goes, "No, but I don't want anybody else to have them. Like, I don't want to pitch them to anybody else." I was like, "I don't either." And so we got back from this camping trip, and we were just sitting on her couch watching Snapped on Oxygen. And I don't know what made me think of it, but I just, and I'd known Angelina because I'd co-written with her in Nashville a few times and really was a fan of her music.
Angelina Presley.
Angelina Presley, yes, ma'am. And so we were sitting on the couch, me and Miranda. I said, "Miranda, have you ever heard of Angelina Presley?" "No." I said, "Well, I really want to play you something. I don't know why I want to play you this right now, but I really feel like I want to and I need to." And I did. I went and got Angelina's MySpace page pulled up and played her some of Angelina's stuff. And she goes, "It's a girl group. That's what it is." And I was like, "Well, you've not met Angelina, And she goes, "Well," and it was right about the time that the CMAs were coming up. So she goes, "Let's have Angelina meet us, in Nashville." We called Angelina that night, and it was midnight or 1. And Angelina was like, "Are y'all drunk? What's up?" And we're like, "No, we're serious. Like, let's see if we can do this." And then we got together, and that was easy. And we wrote Hell on Heels soon after that, and never stopped writing songs.
Tell me about that song, Hell on Heels.
Angelina had actually had that title, and for years she said she had that title, but didn't know how to write it or like what the approach was on it. She just thought it was a cool title. And then she said when she came and met us, together, she was like, clearly this is about us. And so we all kind of decided it would be a good, like, a woman anthem. And then they handed me the guitar and said, "Come up with a groove." I was like, I'm hell on heels. And we wrote that one really fast too. But it's been such a cool thing to see, or like to see grown men hold up their beer and sing, "I'm hell on heels." Say, it's become kind of anthemy.
Ashley Monroe is a country music singer and songwriter. She's also part of the band called Pistol Annies. Her album is Like a Rose. You have a song called You Ain't Dolly. And interestingly, you are sometimes compared to Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I actually got a letter from Dolly, side note, in 2004, before I was even signed. She got a hold of some of my demos and said, and the letter says, "You remind me a lot of myself," and she phrases my songs and talks about how it reminds her of back home, because we're both from East Tennessee, and that's framed in my living room. But anyways, yes, I am compared to Dolly sometimes, which I think that's just something in the Appalachian bloodline, that lonesome voice or something. But the song "You Ain't Dolly, You Ain't Porter" I wrote with Vince Gill, and he called me one day and he said, "Well, I sang on the Opry with Dolly, and Dolly had filled in for Patty Loveless, and I think the song that he sang was 'Nobody Answers When I'll Call Your Name,' and Dolly did Patty's part." And he said after they finished singing it, that Dolly looked at Vince and said, I know, I ain't Patty, but you ain't Porter." And he said it instantly clicked for me.
There's a song
"You
there.
ain't Dolly, you ain't Porter," yeah. And so I went over to his house like the next day, and we started writing it. And he said, "This is Blake." And I said, "You're right. It definitely is." Because that's how me and Blake go back and forth all the time.
Blake Shelton.
Blake Shelton, yes. That's our chemistry for sure. And so I texted him and I was like, "I'm writing a song. I'll send you the work tape, whatever. Will you do this duet with me for my record?" And he said yes. So it worked out.
Ashley, you're 27 now.
Yeah.
What do you want to be doing when you're 47?
Oh my gosh. I still want to be doing something that matters, and I don't know what that is. I've found in life, the more you plan, the more your plans get changed. So I try not to think, okay, at this time I've got to do this. At this date tomorrow I'm going to do this. I just try to take every day as it comes. But I know as long as I'm here for a reason. So, hell, I may be making pies and I don't even cook when I'm 47. I don't know what I'll be doing. I don't know. But I hope I'm doing something that matters, and I can't imagine ever doing anything besides music, ever.
Is your Christian faith still a large part of your life?
Yeah, it is. My relationship with God is personal now more than religion-based, as it was kind of growing up in Bible Belt, East Tennessee. It was very, I think religion is man-made, and I think that my relationship with God is personal. I talk to him every day. I clearly know he's with me all the time. I wouldn't be here if he wasn't. And I've also learned I have more questions than answers. When people try to say, "Well, what about this? Well, what about hell? What about this?" And I think, you know what? I have more questions than answers, but I have a peace with those questions because I know that it's handled, and I know that I'm fine. And I know that my job is to share as much love and light and the gift that he's given me as long as I'm alive.
How's your mom doing now?
My mom is doing well. She's still grieving as well, We've been through a lot. If I ever have a behind the music, it'll be like 5 hours long. And there's so many things that have happened, but Mama has lupus right now, so she's trying to get better with that and she's remarried to an amazing man that takes care of both of us, and me and Mama are really close.
Ashley Monroe, she's a country music singer and songwriter, also part of the band called Pistol Annies. Her album is Like a Rose. Ashley, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you.